And talking about shared responsibility, I would like right at the beginning tell you that this time it's really about shared responsibility, and I promise you that this time I will open the floor for questions, and you are then later invited to ask your question. This time for sure that the timing will give us the chance. So before we start with the main statement of Mr. Matteo Rivellini, on my left side, Head of Division for Western Balkans and Türkiye from the European Investment Bank from Luxembourg, let me do a short introduction of the other dialogue partners and speakers. Next to Mr. Rivellini, Diplom-Ingenieur Dr. Sabine HERLITSCHKA, Chief Executive Officer from Infineon Technologies, Austria. Welcome. On her left, Ms. Sanja BOZHINOVSKA, Minister of Energy, Mining and Minerals of the Republic of North Macedonia. We are very glad to have you here. As well as Ms. Dragijana RADONJIČ-PETROVIĆ, Vice President of the Serbian Association of Economists. And the cooperation of Vienna Economic Forum was already mentioned from Dr. Kircheva in the morning. Then, welcome to Ms. Natalia BEJAN, General Director of Invest of Moldova Agency. Good to have you here. And last but not least, Mr. Nikola VUJOVIĆ, Vice President of the Chamber of Economy of Montenegro, as well as a cooperation partner of the Vienna Economic Forum. So, and before we enter into the discussion, you have prepared an introduction speech. Mr. Rivellini.
Thank you. A very good morning to everyone, and thank you very much to the Vienna Economic Forum for organizing such an important event and having the European Investment Bank participating to this event. It is a great pleasure to be here and to speak and to start discussing in this dialogue about primarily one thing that is said in the title of this session, which is the European future. Because one thing is for sure, we don't know whether it's going to be very costly, we don't know when it will happen, but this region, southeast of Europe, will inevitably be part of the European Union. Sometimes it is forgotten that the countries that are represented by ministers and excellencies on the stage and in the audience are not only politically but also legally committed to becoming members of the European Union. And this is something that we should not forget, and this is something that should prompt the European Union member states to do their job even more, to prepare for this accession. I know more than any other region, the Western Balkans and Türkiye, but that applies also to other countries that have engaged the pattern of the accession to the European Union. And earlier this morning, Professor Cocker was reminding us both reports of Enrico Letta and Mario Draghi. Enrico Letta is actually telling us the technicalities on ensuring that enlargement is happening as soon as possible to make the single market safer than before. And Mario Draghi is telling us that having a larger European Union, a larger single market, is an opportunity for making European Union itself more competitive in the future. With this in mind, and talking about primarily the Western Balkans that I know the most, I would like just to highlight three things today. First of all, the positive developments that we have observed at the European Investment Bank recently in this region. The second, going back to the initiatives that the European Union has put in place to anchor growth of this region towards European Union membership. And third, I will spend a couple of words about what the EIB is doing in the Western Balkans in particular. Again, there is, at times, there are biases about the Western Balkans that at times we need to dismiss. And let me give you a couple of data that perhaps are useful. This region, the Western Balkans, has received foreign direct investments that are, in terms of percentage to their GDP, 3 times higher than what happens in the European Union. This region has invested significantly in infrastructure over the last few years. Just to give you a number, in 2022, only 2 billion euro of additional new financial commitments have been unlocked in this region, particularly for the rail transport sector. The energy transition that has been mentioned in a pattern towards decarbonization of this region is probably taking a pace that is lower than expected. But people tend to forget that it was recalled this morning that this region is on average 50% in terms of energy generation, on average 50% still depending on coal. There is a country in this region that is dependent on coal for 95%. So the pattern is unavoidably longer than expected, and we need to rely on opportunities that are coming, like CBAM, for example, as a new boost for investments in the renewable energies. Trade openness has increased over the last years, achieving under 25% of the GDP of these countries. So all these are signals about the fact that this region is moving forward and is moving forward in a positive manner. What is the European Union doing against these developments? Well, first of all, has unleashed a very significant financial support that certainly goes through the instrument for pre-accession, but also through the EBRD. Mr. Denk was here before me, but also EIB. European financial support is has been released significantly over time. And more recently, there is this new growth plan that has taken shape. And let me tell you, this is a fundamental novelty because, first of all, it replicates something that is happening in the European Union already. The Recovery and Resilience Facility that, for example, is the headline in my home country every second day because it's so difficult to make the reforms to get the money from Brussels, is going to happen in these countries as well. So first time, financial support will be released against reform progress. And a few days ago, the countries have agreed with the member states and the European Commission their reform agendas, and they will keep up with the reform agendas to ensure that their pattern is credible towards the European Union. And this new growth plan is essentially saying two things. First is this market is so fragmented. Either is regional, through the common regional market, or any type of market of the Western Balkans will be wiped away when they try to enter the single market of the European Union. And second, it's important to say that the reform agendas that have been agreed are already showing that some money is flowing into these countries, not only through the WBIF, but also in terms of budgetary support, with the first payments that are happening hopefully within this year. So in this context, the European Investment Bank is trying to do its best in accompanying this process. And we can say that the EIB is one of the best player to do this function. Since 1958, the European Investment Bank, that is owned by the member states of the European Union, has been a critical key player for ensuring a smooth accession of new member states to the European Union. We have accompanied each and every wave of enlargement of the European Union. And one more time, we're doing this by anticipating a number of procedures and policies that we apply in the European Union to the enlargement region. We expand our financial power for this region particularly on those priorities that our new leadership has set. For example, in the renewable energy, we are financing a new power plant, a new solar power plant in the surroundings of Pristina, and we are financing a new wind power plant in Herzegovina, in Vlasic, in Bosnia, and we're also trying to address one of the issues of this country, which is the skills mismatch. It was said earlier on as a top priority, education. We're investing in education. We're investing in schools. We're investing in more connected, in digitalized education, so that this would give us a better region, a more prepared region in the near future. Just to give you a figure, we have invested over the last few years 450 million in Montenegro, in Serbia, to digitalize schools and renovate schools. So ultimately, and I would like to conclude, the advancement of the regional market of the Western Balkans will hinge on the ability of the local economies to collaborate towards a common goal, so the increased competitiveness, productivity, and attractiveness to foreign investors. Let me just mention critical raw material, just to single out one opportunity that not only will allow these countries to move on from the middle income trap. It was mentioned by my colleague from World Bank that this is an issue that these countries are facing, but also to use this opportunity to advance in their technological capacity in transforming critical raw material in this region. And, as underlined by the report of Mario Draghi, the enlargement of the European Union can be seen as a key opportunity for higher competitiveness of an integrated European market. And EIB Global, that is the branch of the European Investment Bank that operates outside the European Union, as it has done already in the past, stands ready to support this advancement towards European Union membership of this region as soon as possible. And I thank you for your attention.
Grazie, Signore Rivellini. Thank you for your opening note. So the question is how to cooperate in a so fragmented market and how to ensure a secure future in Europe. So before we go a little bit deeper into the discussion, I would like to invite you, one after the other, to share your general point of view. And I would like to start with you, Dr. HERLITSCHKA from Infineon. Since 2014, you are CEO of Infineon Technologies Austria. Infineon is one of the worldwide leading technology companies. And you are as well member of various high-level expert groups and advisory boards in Austria and on European level. So we are happy to hear your general point of view to the topic.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. So I want to start off by giving you a bit of an idea of what is the area I'm working in. So I take you to the big world of very small things. So this means microelectronics. So for instance, if you take your mobile phone today, and most likely you have taken it today already, you find this small piece in your cell phone. This is a silicon microphone. We provide, as Infineon, the silicon microphones for 2 out of 3 cell phones worldwide. So if the sound is good, most likely it's ours. So what's the story behind that? We started this small silicon microphone, the work on this small silicon microphone, actually with a PhD thesis. Yeah? So a PhD student has worked on that together with us, and in the meantime then we have developed that. We have a market share of close to 50% and provide the global market with those things. What's specific for those small elements, microelectronics? Well, they require a lot of capital. They require a lot of R&D and naturally a lot of expertise. Before giving you a bit of an idea of the global relevance and then coming back to our joint region, I want to go on with a second example, because the example of the silicon microphone is an example for a piece that every one of us is using at a daily basis. I give you a second example. This is also a very small chip. It's part of the nature that you can't see it because it has to be so small. This chip unlocks the huge potential of energy efficiency. Now think of the Green Deal. We need the huge potential of energy efficiency in order to achieve the targets of the Green Deal. To be very specific, instead of losing 70% of the energy that is being generated by traditional means up to the end user, like a computer, typically you lose 70%. By applying microelectronics in combination of renewables like photovoltaics or wind, you use 70% of the energy. And that makes a big difference. So, from what continent would you guess is the market leader of this kind of technology? From what continent? This is a question.
Asia.
Asia.
Yeah. That's what normally I think most of the people would say. Would be also my guess.
Yeah. It's in
Or the States. Or
America. It's Infineon. It's Infineon.
It's Infineon.
We are market leader in this kind of power electronics technology that provides the potential, that unlocks the potential to use energy efficiency. We are a market leader in that. We have 20% market share. The next competitor has less than 10. So a European company in a technology that is basically needed by all of us, because all the regions want to do this kind of green transformation. In Europe, the Green Deal, in the US, even China, just the timelines are different. Why do I mention that? Because I do think in this kind of global situation, global transformations that we find ourselves, the first important element is that we have to be self-confident. You have mentioned the future of Europe. The future of Europe has to be built on self-confidence of what we have achieved so far. And we have a lot of market leaders. We find ourselves today in a global economy. And in a global economy, you always have one characteristic. Everyone is dependent on the other to some extent. So if we talk about resilience, that's nice. But actually we have to talk about strength. Because we are in the game if others depend on us. And we have a lot of examples on that. To give you some of the key facts of Infineon, we are a European headquartered company in Germany, Munich. We have some 60,000 employees. And in Austria, I have some 6,000 colleagues. And we have been in place here for the last more than 50 years. in an industry that is so global that you can hardly find a comparison. And maybe one more fact to show you the dimension and demonstrate on how we think. The global microelectronics market has a volume of roughly $600 billion. So one could say $600 billion at a global level is not that much. However, it's like a triangle. You see the 600 billion on the bottom, but then it goes up into the broader applications of the electronics market and the broader application areas. Microelectronics in all kinds of applications enables some roughly 50% of global GDP. 50% of global GDP. So if we don't have it, like for instance during the corona pandemic, car manufacturers had lines standing still, we were waiting for a number of products. I mean, we find this kind of technology in all kinds of applications of our daily life. So why did I tell you that, and what is the conclusion? First of all, a self-confident, comprehensive Europe that builds on its strengths and thinks big. Because our technology, as an example, like many others, we are global. So what's needed, and this is the way how we work, is that we build on our strengths. We think European. I'm sure you have been talking about maybe the CHIPS Act, or it came up, so it does not make sense to have chip manufacturing in each country. But it means thinking of the competences and then thinking European, where do we have what kind of competences, manufacturing, and then accessing the market. So as far as we are concerned, we have been using European initiatives, for instance, to work with partners also in the Western Balkan countries and EU 13. We are quite active because I see Madam Ambassador also in Bulgaria. We are very active in Slovenia. We have some 600 colleagues in Romania, for instance. We still have some 200, roughly 300 colleagues in Ukraine, and keep them in the sense of in the field of software. We are active in Croatia, where we have set up a founded professorship, for instance, and work on the education of students, because the lack of technical talent is something that concerns all of us, all over Europe. And I think we have to convey this kind of enthusiasm for science, technology, and engineering. This is a joint effort. So in conclusion, I want to say, let's think bold. We are in a global competition, not only for technology, but all of you are so much aware, we are in a systems competition. And this kind of systems competition is to a large extent decided by technology. And therefore, technology is so important. And happy to share more thoughts on that later on.
Thank you. Thank you for the very impressive introduction of your company. And yeah. Small products with a very huge impact, yeah, to summarize it. And I like also your idea to dare to be bold, yeah, and that interdependence mustn't necessarily be a weakness. It's just the opposite. It can be a strength, yeah. So yeah, just one question, because I'm curious, probably others are too. The next competitor, because you're the market leader, yeah, the next competitor from which country?
From the US.
Okay, good. So let's switch the perspective from economy to politics to Her Excellency Ms. Sanja BOZHINOVSKA, the Minister of Energy, Mining and Minerals of the Republic of North Macedonia. You don't have to switch it on, it's immediately on, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. First, thank you for the invitation, Your Excellency Ms. Kircheva and Ms. Briggs. It's an honor to be on the 21st Vienna Economic Forum. So I'm representing the country North Macedonia. We had a new government since June this year, and it's first time in the history that we established the Ministry for Energy, Mining and Mineral Resources. So it is a fact that the government finally recognized the importance of this area, and today we heard a lot about the Green Deal, the energy transition, and about countries that are coal dependent. Unfortunately, I have to say that North Macedonia is heavily relying on coal. We are also, now we just received the reform agenda from EU and growth plan that we are all listening every day. So there is it is a big challenge because there are a lot of responsibilities with this Green Deal. For example, 750 million euros are allocated, and from these 145 million will be for the green energy. We established a department in the Ministry of Energy Efficiency, and we will invite the Infineon. It's very good to hear that Europe is leading US, at least in some area. So we will invite you to see if we can have some cooperation. And when I speak about the energy, I have to say that we are now working also on the infrastructure because it is very important to have infrastructure. We just published a tender for a gas connector with Greece. So finally, on 20th of November is the opening. So it will be a good alternative of the Russian gas. And then we signed memorandum with Serbia, so it will go from Greece to Serbia and then Eastern Europe, the gas connection. Regarding the electricity connection, we are missing only with our neighbor Albania, which we received a grant from EBRD. We are working closely with EBRD on this project, so I think we will manage to have it built with Albania, and then with the cable we also can connect to Montenegro even regarding the electricity. The estimation of the transition, the green transition, was 3 billion. That was estimated, and last year it was on COP28 that some contracts were signed, and I'm sure that some of you will be going next week in Baku, since there is the COP29, and it will be talked about the climate and also about the energy and the responsibilities that we have. We are part of the Western Balkans, and we are also part of the energy community, and we do have some obligations, and we heard about the CBAM, which is widely spoken. We are having a meeting here in December, 12th of December in Vienna, to see the progress. I have to be honest, all the 6 countries are not very prepared for the CBAM. It will start 1st of January 2026. So we are working on it. However, for the EU countries, it took a while. And I think it is too, let's say, optimistic to have it from 1st of January 2026, but we will try to do our best. Regarding the security and the responsibility, we are also doing a market coupling with Greece at the moment, and we are also having an energy exchange that started last year. We do have a day-ahead selling and buying of energy, and we will do our best to have the intraday, so to be more connected with European markets. And when I read the topic shared responsibility of economy, I thought firstly of in June, I don't know if you're aware, there was a blackout in Croatia, energy, and it affected 4 countries. So a couple of hours, there was no electricity in Croatia, in Bosnia, Montenegro, and in Albania. So there is an investigation, but the first thing was lack of communication. So I think we all need to be more connected. We need to cooperate more. And we are part also with Serbia of Open Balkan, but that's not replacement for EU. It's just cooperation that we want to be integrated faster. So we are having big challenges, and we are now establishing working sessions for all the responsibilities that we have from the EU growth plan. We have a new ambassador of European Union also in our country, so now we are working, and I hope that we will show good results. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making us aware of the challenges and also to bring back in mind this blackout of Croatia, illustrating it so well. Yeah? Our topic, as you mentioned, it is shared responsibility of economy and politics, and we move from the one to the other perspective. When I now hand over to the Vice President of Serbian Association of Economists, Ms. Dragana RADONJIĆ-PETROVIĆ, we are looking forward to sharing your point of view regarding the very challenging bridge building tasks and goals of the countries of the Western Balkans, having strong ties both to West and East, if I assume. Yeah?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Kircheva, Ambassador Briggs. Thank you very much for bringing all of us here, 21 years. I personally participate maybe 10 times or even more. And this is the place where we really feel like we are the members of the European Union. This is the place, this is the panel where we are sitting together with the people from European Union, with people from candidate countries, and we feel equal. And that's very nice feels for all of us. And I would quote Ambassador Briggs this morning, who said, economy is already integrated. Economy is in the EU now, because our main partner is European Union and the region. So more than 70% of all our individual countries are trading with European Union. Investments are coming mainly from the European Union. So all of you, I see some of you who are present in our countries with your companies. If the business person will be asked, and if they will be member of the parliament, we would be member of European Union 10 years, already 10 years. But unfortunately, they are not asked all the time, because politics is very important, not only economies. So in terms of economy, we are already integrated. In terms of formal integration and in terms of real lives, we are going, when I came here, I had to go to non-EU countries to wait a little bit longer, but it's still not a problem, but it is a daily difference between being a country of European Union, being full-fledged member or not, being a candidate for more than 21 years. So we are preparing for the European Union for more than 21 years. More or less all of our countries are candidates. Full candidacy we received in a certain period of time. We are preparing opening chapters and everything. And do you know how many documentation and legislation, regulation has to be adopted, aligned? It is like whole this building will be small enough to accommodate all these papers, which is hard work, and we are doing. I was a state secretary in charge in the Ministry of Finance and Economy, and we did a great progress in that process. But it's too long to wait that goal when you're striving every year, and that's EU is moving target for us. We don't know when we will be. You're adding new candidate countries, and we are fully agree with that, but nobody's entering. We don't know what is the future of all of us. And that's something, when you have such uncertainty, it's not good. It's not good for Europe, it's not good for us, and we cannot be independent of European Union. We are all in heart of Europe. We are not member states, but we are here. We are here, and we are friends. Out of four people from the region is in the European Union, working here, already integrated. But now we have a very big problem. I will go a little bit just to compare what was the situation in the countries and ranking strength of economies. In 1980s, 5 countries, European countries, was in the top 10 economies of the world. In 2000 it was 4, only Spain went out. So Germany, France, Italy, and UK stayed as a top 10. In 2022, four countries again. Only Germany was in the top 5. So we don't have too many countries in the top 10 European countries. In projection for 2050, 3 countries from European Union will be in the top 10 countries, but we will have China, US, India, Indonesia. We will have new players in the global economy. I'm very happy to hear, Ms. HERLITSCHKA, that we are leading. I say we because we are Europe. We are in the same country, we are sharing the same destiny, that we are leading in that area, which is very important for the future growth. And Serbia is happy to have one of the biggest export is IT industry. Close to 3 billion euros is in export industry. So I invite you to come and to either acquire or to do whatever, because I think that you will find a nice, good people, well educated and skilled in that area, just to strengthen that where we already have some advantages. Otherwise, as far as I know, all these microchips are in Taiwan, South Korea, and the States. So they are the leading 3 countries producing this. And those investments are like Serbian GDP. So we can hardly compete with that investment of 60, 80 billion euros. It's very, very difficult. But what's going to happen in 2075? In the top 10 countries, only Germany will remain. And it will be on the 10th place. Which country will appear? Nigeria, Egypt, of course, China, US, Indonesia will remain in this. Of course, these are projections. I'm not sure that most of us will be able to see is it true or not. But what is the biggest problem? Population. We don't have people. Migration is not only from the region towards European Union. We are investing we are attracting and importing labor force from the Philippines, from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, especially in the infrastructure, which is very important for Serbia. We don't have our people who are ready to work, skilled to work, willing to work. They're leaving to European Union because they're much better salaries and everything, but still European Union is not saturated with people from the region who know, let's say, the European Union rules. I will just go shortly in some parameters of all Western Balkans. Everything is pretty much related and dependent on European Union and European economies. GDP growth in the Western Balkans was 2.6 in 2023. This year it will be 3.3. Serbia will reach 3.3 GDP growth as a country, although the average also is 33%. Public debt is under control. It is moderately increased, just for 1%. So it is now 47.2 in the region. So we are stable. Our banking sector is stable. All foreign banks, especially from Austria, was the first investors in Serbia. So we have all the banks. The capital adequacy ratio is under control. It's 19.1, very high. NPL is very good. So all macroeconomic parameters are pretty good. So we are doing fine. We are listening. We are following the rules. We are aligning with all EU regulations. But we would like to know when we will be good enough to join you. That's something what is not very satisfying for the people who are waiting that day, waiting too long. Thank you. I will continue later.
Thank you. Uncertainty is for sure an issue. Interdependence, as we have heard now quite often, mustn't be a weakness, could be a strength. I'm interested to hear the answer to this question from our next speaker, looking from Serbia to Moldova, a small landlocked nation, but very strong in the ability to integrate with other markets. And in addition, the second round of the presidential election took place yesterday, as far as I know, which means that crucial questions are also on the way to being answered. So, Ms. Natalie BEJAN, you will tell us a little bit more about the strengths of interdependence, looking at Moldova.
Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me today here. Indeed, I was actually quite anxious yesterday, thinking what are going to be the election results and what is going to be my mood and what is going to be my opening, because even though we are a parliamentary republic, the symbol of the president of the country is enormous, and in the last 4 years, our president, Maia Sandu, has done such an amazing job strengthening the position of Moldova worldwide, advancing so much Moldova as a candidate to join the European Union. So it was a very big question mark, and just such an important step for Moldova to make, that it was making us anxious, even though we had kind of the certainty that it has to be the way that it was up until now. So now, with more than 99% of the votes counted, Maia Sandu has secured her second term for the next 4 years. So this is giving us the certainty that we are going to continue the path that we have started in the past few years in becoming a member of the European Union and strengthening the ties, the economic ties with the European Union. Indeed, for Moldova, it was 65% of the exports in the last year that went with the EU 27 countries. Speaking of the FDI stock in Moldova right now, 83% of it comes from EU 27 countries. So again, there is not a question about economic integration, it's more of a question of political integration, but I think, and what we feel now in Moldova, we are advancing in this direction. We haven't had such a long path as you have had, so maybe we don't have that much of a kind of I don't want to say frustration or depression. It must be a very strong word, but I do see my colleagues in so many ministries right now working so hard on adjusting the legislation of Moldova to the European Union, but we are still very enthusiastic about it. Not only still, we are very enthusiastic about it. Speaking about some of the most important priorities that we have right now on the agenda, and I'm happy that many of them have been discussed and pointed out today, so we're quite consistent on this. Moldova is working very hard on digitalization, through which we are basically fighting corruption. We don't want any kind of public services to be kind of avoided through different ways. So last year in Moldova, for businesses specifically, we had around 30% of public services digitalized. As of today, we have more than 65% already digital, and we are aiming 75% by the end of this year already. So digitalization and debureaucratization is one of the strongest priorities. Industrialization of the country. At the beginning of the next year, we will be announcing, right now we are working on a state aid scheme that is going to support investors, not only foreign investors, but also local investors, in extending their investments to Moldova, if those are higher than half a million euros, in 6 strategic industries. The state is going to support with up to 60% of the investment amount. A third of it can be cash grant, and the rest tax exemptions. 2 of those industries, I'm just going to give us examples using Mrs. HERLITSCHKA's recommendation to be bold. One of the industries is electronics, so we'll be very happy to discuss with you and see how we can put also Moldova on your map, because you've mentioned that Romania is already there, Ukraine is already there, and those are our 2 neighbors, so we would like to at least discuss this possibility. Pharma and chemicals is another one. I know SoPharma, I'll just mention it because it's one of the partners of the event. I know they are present in Moldova. We would like to see as well production maybe in Moldova. So again, this is one of the 6 priority industries on our agenda. And last, I'm not going to take too much of your time right now, but I would still mention the renewables. Moldova has never put so much emphasis on the renewable energy as we do right now. We are preparing to open by the end of the year the first public tender on the renewables for 165 megawatts on wind and solar energy, and we will be looking forward to as many international companies to apply for the tender and to support us in strengthening the resilience of the energy sector of Moldova. Only 2-3 years ago, we were fully dependent on Russian gas, like 100% of it. Right now, that's brought to zero. So the Ministry of Energy, which is actually very new in Moldova as well, it was established less than 2 years ago, has done a tremendous job in this sense of getting Moldova being more independent. But right now, we want to be less independent on gas, less independent on coal. So we are looking to, actually 2030, is important for us from two perspectives, like two of the biggest goals we have, 2030 EU member state and 2030 to have at least 30% of renewable energy, like two of the priorities that we have. There are more things on our agenda. I'll be happy to discuss this later down our discussion. But what I would like to also mention is that I would like to officially extend an invitation to Vienna Economic Forum to consider Moldova, to consider Chișinău as one of the future platforms for the event. We'll be very happy to have you there. I've heard that you've had some events in Chișinău, but that was more than 10 years ago, and I think we have to fix that. Thank you.
Dr. Kircheva keeps the finger crossed. Dr. Kircheva is confident and keeps the finger crossed, yeah? Very good. So great energy transition journey that you mentioned for the country, and yeah, to summarize, coming back to your motivation, so keep the enthusiastic spirit. Yeah, that's all I can say now. And let's close the first round with Mr. Nikola VUJOVIĆ, Vice President of the Chamber of Economy in Montenegro.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here. At the beginning, I will say that I'm not too lazy to speak 10 minutes or more, but the problem is that my colleagues tell almost everything from different perspectives, providing the great starting point for this panel. So I will try to speak about one thing that I think is very important, and the topics provide us a great platform for that, and it is responsibility or shared responsibility for future of our economies or our countries. So if we would like to share something, the first precondition is that we have to have it. The question is what's going on with responsibility these days, not just through the scope of economy or politics, but generally speaking, not just in WB6 countries or EU countries, but generally speaking in the world. And I think that there is the first problem. I think the responsibility is another part of the same medal if we speak about freedom and if we speak about, what all business community would like to have is free market. So if we would like to have freedom and free market, the responsibility has to be the same part of the story. Unfortunately, these days we can see that we do not have systems, mechanism, which will provide us answer on the question who is responsible for something and what are the consequences of that, good or bad. Which lead us to the question about quality of the politics these days. So, question is today's politics in the Balkans, in the Europe or in the world on the same or better level than it was 10, 15, 20 or 30 years ago, or it's maybe not. And there we come to the story about those who have obligation to create good business environment for business community, to share responsibility with economy and business community, to create a legal and regulatory framework which provide us opportunity to grow. If we know that we have a problem like that, we know that still we cannot speak about shared responsibility between politics and politicians and business communities regarding creating a good business environment. Still, the much bigger percentage of responsibility is on the part of the politics. Still, they do the steps and decisions that they think should do. And unfortunately, I think that the mainstream of today's politics and the main approach can be defined by the word of populism, you know, making some decisions, creating some movements that will lead us to the story, okay, we will take from those who have, and that is business community, and provide it to the citizens and maybe create some profit in next elections. Unfortunately, that is something that we can see not just in WB6 countries, but also in the Western countries, Western economies, Western politicians, and it's not so good, if I can say like that. So business community definitely will be on the side to be part of the system that will provide some good business environment. Business community is familiar with responsibility. But I'm afraid that other part of the negotiation table is not so familiar with that concept, and I think, or I hope that it will be changed soon, so we can provide a solution that will, make business environment good enough for development and growth.
Thank you. Thank you. In the opening words of Ambassador Dr. Kircheva, there were some questions raised, and one of the questions was, has the cooperation between economics and politics lost its intensity? Absolutely, no? Is your answer?
Unfortunately, I think that we lose that connection, or losing. It's not the same in every country, but if we speak generally, business community does not have too much chance to be part of decision making in this process. And it's bad. It's bad for business community, and the result of that is the problems on economical level of the country or macro level of the country and further. So, unfortunately, I think that we are losing that connection.
From your perspective, yeah. Before I open the floor for questions from the audience, I would like to start with one other question. Taking in consideration that the word responsibility, yeah, is familiar with the word response, yeah, I would like to ask you, from your perspectives, what are the vital questions regarding Europe's future to which economy and politics must respond? And probably you have also responses and not only an idea about the vital questions. Would you like to start?
I see there's not so many volunteers, so the question must be very difficult. No, let me again focus on the region of the Western Balkans that I know the most, and really what could be the areas where the response from the various stakeholders can be most important. I think there are a number of areas that have been already mentioned, and I also refer to in terms of the way we need to address the infrastructure gap. It has been said that there are a lot of investments that have been unlocked, but still, as it was said earlier on, as an enabler for a better economic framework and environment, we still need to do a lot of things. The progress on the twin digital and green transition, it has been said that there are a number of obstacles that need to be addressed, given the context from where we're starting, and yet pace is increasing thanks to the very demanding and ambitious targets and requirements of the CBAM that will kick in 2026, but still it is an opportunity for accelerate. But I think there are two things, I think there are two areas where the main stakeholders need to provide a response, and I think they're the most urgent more than anything else, particularly for this region. First is brain drain. There are statistics that are appalling in terms of the numbers of people that are leaving this region, and the United Nations have talked about a third of the current population that is basically on the verge of leaving this region. And that's why investing in education, quality of lives, in the region is fundamental for providing a platform for rather brain drain, possibly brain circulation, so that people get skilled, perhaps travel, but then comes back and create opportunities in this region. And as EIB, we are trying to provide a response in this respect by investing in the education sector as much as we can. Second is access to finance. We've run a survey together with the EBRD and World Bank recently. We've asked the firms in the region of the Western Balkans whether access to finance has been a constraint to carry out an investment over the last 2 years. And 1 out of 3 told us that they did not invest because they lacked, let's say, financial support. So that's very scary in a region that needs to catch up with, with the standards of the European Union, and that is also why we are trying to address this by expanding our support to financial institutions for them to on-lend our funding to the firms, particularly for the areas that are the most untapped, meaning 50% of the, let's say, women potential in this region is untapped. So we're telling them, use our funding, we attach even special conditions, so long as you finance firms that are recruiting women or providing that women are part of their of the governances of the firms. So again, these are the 2 things that I would like to highlight as the major concerns: brain drain and access to finance, and as the EIB, we're trying to address them as much as we can.
To support it, yeah. Please, Dr. HERLITSCHKA.
Yeah, thanks. I think the biggest differences between, let's say, the political arena and the entrepreneurial daily life is basically speed. We change all the time. We need reforms all the time. We adapt all the time. And this kind of speed, or nowadays you would tend to say agility, is so essential. Because all of us, we have to adapt to the changes we currently and all the time see. And I give some examples. I very much welcome the Letta report, the Draghi report. Welcome back, single market. We have been talking about the single market for how many decades? For how long? And then, I mean, for right reason, we talk about the lack of finance, but this is a consequence and not the source of the trouble. If we talk about startups, for instance, or access to finance, why do startups leave Europe? Because they can access the US market in a very single way. Capital is mobile. So instead of talking about new venture funds, and I'm a bit black and white now, I know, instead of talking about new venture funds, the single market would be tremendously effective because it creates a single market that's accessible. The single digital market, the capital union. I mean, these are all concepts that are by far not new. So it's really about implementation. And and welcome to our world. This is what it's all about. Second point then is this kind of leadership that we need. I take the Green Deal. again at European level. And I'm a firm believer that the Green Deal is the right and highly ambitious initiative. That's our European flagship initiative. But please, let's remember, the Green Deal was set up with the intention to foster the green transformation and at the same time increase competitiveness. Now, what have we seen in implementing the Green Deal? I hardly see any measures to increase competitiveness. We have seen more bureaucratic, let's say, framework. No measures to increase competitiveness. And I'm not talking about funding or subsidies. The Green Deal will need so much investment by all of us. And the public side, of course, is responsible for the framework conditions, to a large extent infrastructure, but that will not be doable by the public side only. So we do need market forces to unlock those kind of investments that are needed. One could even say, I mean, this would be our lifetime visionary investment project. And instead, we talk about how many? 4,000 new legislative acts? Seriously? That's it? And for a company like ours and many others, the reality is energy costs are significantly higher in Europe. Bureaucratic burdens. And I'm not against regulation, yeah? But bureaucratic burdens are significantly higher, and we are in a region with high labor cost. So in summary, a Green Deal itself will not be sustainable if we don't include this element of competitiveness, because it will just not be affordable to pay more for energy, for labor cost, having higher bureaucracy. What for? So we will just not be capable of coming up with these kind of products for the global market. So I really want to underline what has been said in the Letta and Draghi report is so true, is so relevant, has urgency, not panic, urgency. And time is a decisive factor.
That's true, also for us. That's why I now open the floor for questions from the audience, and I saw a lot of hands. I start, if I may, with here in the, yeah, exactly, in the last row, or more or less the last row, is Mr. Musil, yeah?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Otto Musilek. I have a very simple question. We are talking about to create a single market. That's fine. And are you aware from the representative of the for the time being, non-EU countries, that you have to follow the regulations and rules from the EU, which are not always very positive. So therefore, but you have to follow. That's the first one. And the second one is, we are talking about and we are proud about the performances, what we achieved. But my doubt is, are you convinced that we have done to settle the basics and the ground floor of all our wishes and targets in the non-EU countries, or shall we start a little bit from an earlier point and say, okay, we have to fix with the EU this and this and this point, and not to go and have visions which are not very clear defined, That's my point of view. And why I'm telling or asking this question is, in discussions with representatives of your countries, I had the impression that not everybody is convinced that we should follow the EU rules. So therefore, this is maybe one point why these discussions are so long and heavy with that. That's my point.
Thank you, Mr. Musilek. He's the arbitrary of the Vienna Economic Forum. So, would you, yeah, please.
Yeah, if I understood you well and heard you well, I understood that somebody in our countries, in my country, I can speak only about my country, doesn't want to follow the rules. If I understood well, I'm not sure. We are very much aware that we have to follow the rules of the family if we are going to meet and be a member of that family. There are no exemptions. There are no exemptions. That's very, very much clear. We want and we are following all the rules and regulations. But Europe is killing herself with the bureaucracy. They cannot follow. You cannot follow your rules. They're changing a lot of rules, a lot of regulation, a lot of not very aligned behavior among you as member state countries. And it's very difficult. You know, sometimes you're not on the same page and you want us as a new member countries who are coming to be. And we are. But I'm pretty much sure all these regulations and already aligned regulations we did so far is, I'm not even sure that some countries who joined EU early countries are aligned that much as we are. But we are talking about our willingness really to be a member states. And even those political issues that you have with some of our countries will be disappeared. If we will be member of the EU, if all of our countries will be member of the EU, there won't be any political disputes between some of the countries. So it will be easy way to step in and to be together and without problems. We don't want to come to EU and bring our problems to you. But if it will remain as long as we don't know what is, I heard that Moldova's goal is 2030. We were waiting 2010, 2020, now 2030. For us, it's similar far. It's always far and moving. But I would just like to give one comment what Ms. HERLITSCHKA said. What we are missing, investment. Now when we are facing two armed conflicts very close to the European Union borders, our budgets, your budgets, are completely different structure of the budgets. So firstly, we need peace. And European Union was created to have a stable peace for everyone. We need people. We don't have space to lose one man. Not how many people are dying these days. So we have to be very, very responsible what to do with money, to invest and to bring back the benefits of invested money, because money is always limited. And Mr. said that we are attracting in Western Balkan countries 3 times more FDIs. Yes, Serbia for the last 10 years has most every year 4.5 billion euros, mostly European Union investors. And you have to attract investors. And you have to attract investors from Asia, from Africa, from states. You have to be more attractive. You have to be more competitive as Europe. So when you will be more happy, we are happy directly when you are better. Thank you.
Thank you. So there was first a question here in the second row. Yeah, here from my right side. And then on the left side, yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Arben Hayrullahu. Indeed, I was prepared to ask the question in German, but I assume that would make a little bit more
it's easier
difficult.
For us in English.
Yeah,
thank you.
Let's try, maybe it will make sense, my question in English as well. Minister Ed Stadler mentioned that it is a question of credibility. We know in the Balkans we are waiting now for, I would like not to say 25 years, but 1/4 of a century. We are waiting somewhere. To us it was promised that we should that we have a European perspective. And however, what is happening, I am asking as a political scientist, not necessarily as a rector of the university. It's a dishonest game on both sides, in Brussels and in the capital cities in the Balkans, pretending that we are fulfilling the criteria and pretending that we are willing to integrate you. And this is somehow very worried if you take into consideration that the young people are leaving the region. And we see that. And without people, we cannot foresee any sustainable development. My question is to you in regard about the rise of autocratic indicators in the region. Countries like my country, Republic of Kosovo, they show that they have improved in the last years in all international indexes. If you look, VDEM, Freedom House, and so on and so forth, and what is the response from the EU? Imposing measures to the Republic of Kosovo. I am just asking, is this the right path and way to deal with the European future of the Western Balkans? Thank you.
Would you like to take the response?
Response and maybe the comment on the first. I will do it briefly. That's actually the reason why I spoke about quality of politics, not in just the Western Balkans but also in Europe. You know, on the other side, the huge and the most important problem in WB6 countries is trust, lack of trust between us. So it's not interconnections line, railroads, and so on and so on. Trust me, business community understand each other very well in the region. Chambers understand that very well in the region. But on the political level, we have problems.
There is the lack of trust on the political level.
And solution for that is not so easy. It's easy, relatively easy, is to build new railroad or highway and to connect two countries with new transmission system lines. You know, you have banks, projects, and so on. Connectivity agenda is a great example of that, how does it work. The bigger problem is how to resolve that problem of lack of trust. And that's why we need to have EU present there. Why we need someone who can set the framework for game, and someone who will say, you do something wrong there. So, but for that, the reason is that we speak, okay, from EU we need know-how, we need political support and money. Is it too much? It was. 10 or 15 years ago it was. Enlargement process was that, or close to that. But today we have some good news from the EU, I think. We have some new approach, which says, okay, enlargement process is not that, and there is possibility for countries to be part of you, and it is the best news for us from the Western Balkans that can have from EU side. So today, I think that Western Balkan is again on the side of EU, which is great for us. So the presence of EU there is of crucial importance for the process of enlargement and for the process of development of the countries and economies in WB6.
Thank you. So one last question here from the second row, and then we have to close. Yeah.
My name is Johann Rollgruber. I'm European Commission official, and there's so many interesting statements made here. And an active support of Vienna Economic Forum since, I think, Elena, 13 years or so. On internal market, I had the pleasure to talk to Enrico Letta just a week ago, and he gave me a very good example. He said, when I'm driving from Belgium to Luxembourg, I have a 10-minute period where I have problems with roaming. So we have 27 service providers. The US has one US prefix code. We have 27. And this is to be addressed in this new investment and savings union, as explained to me. He gave me also the example that we Europeans, we process 90% of all our payments digitally with US platforms. 90%. Also we have euro. So, but I like very much the vice president of the Serbian Economists, Mrs. Petrovic. I was in Novi Sad just 4 weeks ago because I was coordinating Danube strategy, and Vojvodina gave me a Danube award 2024. So for that I had to prepare and study Serbia. And since I had the pleasure to negotiate with all 12, last with Croatia, Romania, Bulgaria, some chapters of accession, I'm very honest to you now. I give you 3 advice. You press, as economists, the Prime Minister, and say, look, we are not undermining, because at the end, it's a political decision. It's a process, merit-based. I told every politician, prime ministers from North Macedonia, do not go to Germany and Vienna to say, I want to join the EU, but meet Mr. Emmanuel Macron or Mark Rutte. So what I want to say is, do not undermine the sanctions with Russia actively. This is my first advice. Be more conciliatory with Kosovo. I'm Austrian, I'm born in the south of Austria. We do not have any problems with Slovenians who buy in Graz. We like to go to their places, or when I ski in the north of Italy, I take the ski lift and I go down on the Austrian side of the
And the third one?
Yeah, this is Kosovo, and the third one is a very clear one also. Geopolitics, you know. China, I studied, you have the highest FDI with Hungary, where you attract Chinese FDI to Serbia. It's good. I wrote about the Beletage bridge in Croatia, it doesn't work. Chinese built, EU paid, I was in the negotiations. But the third one is, be more strategic. You did a very good job, press your Prime Minister. Critical Raw Material Act, lithium was a very good step. Kosovo, and then you forget the merit-based process and you will join in 2030.
Okay.
Because that was my statement.
Thank you. It was not a question, it was a comment, 3 advices. Thank you for this. And with this said, and with regards to the timing, I would like to do it the other way round for very short closing rounds. I bet you really have a very, very short advice from your side to the audience, starting with you.
Well, pretty much I gave advice in previous comment, you know, saying that the presence of EU in the region is of crucial importance for our development, that there is strong impact from other sides in this geopolitical area that are interesting in WB6 countries. So please be aware of the size of the problem that we have there on political level, and please be present there regarding the creating a better future.
Thank you. So please really try to put it in a sentence, in a short sentence, one advice.
On Moldova side, I would like to see the same support that we've seen accelerated in the last 1.5, 2 years. So I just hope that in the next years we'll be as close and as supported as we have felt so far by the European Union.
Thank you.
From my side, with all these advices from the colleague, we would like to speed up the process of integration, and I'm pretty much sure it will be both beneficial from the European Union and for all Western Balkan regions, and even with some contacts cooperation could be very beneficial. And Western companies are actually using the benefits of Serbia positions very often, and they're doing business through Serbia because they cannot do directly, but they're European Union countries. So with full integration, we can be only beneficial to the single market and to be competitive as a Europe, as a continent, not as a country by country, because we have to compete with other continents, and we are losing pace, we are losing competitiveness, we are losing everything, and just increasing bureaucracy and terms and conditions and everything. Please speed up the integration. It will be better for whole Europe.
Speed up.
My Serbian colleague said mostly. I have to say that we, the North Macedonia, even changed our name. So we are a country that changed our name, and we are still waiting. So I think we are working, we are changing now the legislation, we are transposing the EU acquis, but we would like to have some mutual cooperation, and I think all the countries from Western Balkan are really waiting and waiting, so just we need to speed up the process. For example, we are almost 2 million. Even if we tomorrow move to EU, it's nothing, it's one suburb in Berlin, so that's the reality. We just need some more integration.
More integration, thank you.
Well, all the projects, all the to-dos are on the table. It's about implementing fast, so speed, as has been mentioned, I want to underline, because it's worth it for a stronger Europe exactly in this global arena as we are.
And we close with you.
But it has been said all. Just two things, perhaps. This region is complex. Let us be as factual as possible when we talk about this region. Let us not be hostage of propagandas, because there are facts that are unequivocal, and this region is moving towards the European Union, and the European Union is moving towards the enlargement of its border to include this region. And last but not least, the EIB has been the bank of the enlargement of the European Union, so it's ready to be, again, the bank of the enlargement this time around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the inspiring dialogue. Thank you for the shared responsibility with your questions. And now let's move to lunch. We see each other again in 1 hour here.